Welcome to the Clarity Podcast with David Prosper, where we explore the transformative power of living by design and not by default. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce Darlene Higgins, a financial and retirement coach who retired at the age of 50. Darlene's journey is an inspiring example of how clarity around finances and vision can lead to achieving big goals while enjoying the journey along the way. She now helps women and couples over 50 craft personalized retirement plans that align with their dreams and value. Darlene, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Could you share with us your journey of retiring at 50 and what led to that milestone and what inspired you to pursue that?
Yeah, so I'm going to go all the way back to the very beginning of my journey. I was 18, found myself unemployed. I say that loosely because I was still living with my parents. But as I was, pursuing, I found a job with the local police department. So then fast forward by about 17 years, I had put myself through school, was working through all different positions while at the police department, and finding I hadn't found a job that used my degree yet. So I really wanted to do that. And at this 17-year mark, I found a job with the local sheriff's office. So I stayed within that because I had a pension available to me. 30 years worked would give me the option to retire. So when I made the change from the local police department to the local sheriff's office, I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can do another 17. That's not a big deal. Oh, crap. 17 and 17 is 34. I could actually only have to do 13 years and have the option to retire. So that was like my wake up moment. Okay, but taking a 40% cut in pay the day I retire. So it was from that moment, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to set myself up. I'm going to make sure all the doors are open and available. And so I began my journey, really focused budget retirement journey. I was inspired mainly because I had seen so many people not ready to leave for retirement, kind of being a cog in the wheel, not allowing others to promote. And I didn't want to be that. I wanted to also go out on the top of my game, not at the bottom. So I just got to work and I was budgeting and focused on, my daughter was 8, so we still had that. And so I was focused on what are we doing as a family? What are we enjoying right now? And that was, we had recreational property, we had recreational vehicles, we had a trailer we took. So that was what we did for that. And I just kept shoving money into retirement accounts, getting prepared, but also really focusing on where our money was going and how we were living. And I just plugged along. I mean, that was a 15-year journey for me because I did end up working 32 years. But the other thing that at that age I did not know was all of the other things that it would take. When are you leaving? What month? What, usually you know what year. Oh, about this year. But then you don't think about what month. I've just had a lot of former coworkers retire this month and I think, in winter, how is that going to be? You've got to be set up and you've got to be prepared. So as I was coming to it, I said to my husband, I'm ready to go. He goes, okay. And so I'm like, okay, about 9 months. He goes, all right. And then I'm like, well, so that would have put me in August. Like, why am I leaving at the end of summer? So I bumped it up by 3 months, left at 32-year mark and took my 40% cut in pay. But 2 months prior to that, I was like, oh crap, can I do this? Is this going to work? Now, back up 3 years, we had retired my husband. He had done the same thing. We'd lost 40% of his income into the household. We had done just fine. So I'm like, can we do this? I got really clear with my numbers and I was actually only taking home about 57% of my income. So right there, I'm really close to living on what they were going to actually pay me, give or take a few because of taxes. So I ended up pulling the plug and became an entrepreneur, trying to help others really get clear and be passionate about what it is they want in retirement and how they can get there.
So thank you for taking us through that journey. And you mentioned taking that 40% cut. How did having a clear vision help you make such a bold move and make it easier or challenging for you?
Yeah. So, I had created my estimated retirement budget as well because the retirement office also gives you that number. So had that number in there, roughly knew what my expenses were. I already knew what I was spending, household, vehicles, things like that. And then I kind of anticipated, well, what's not going to be at the same demand? And then what is going to be a new demand? And one of those was, medical. We, had to get our own medicals. So exploring that, seeing that impact. So really it was the budgeting. It was what we were already doing and then creating this foreseeable budget. And, it's always fearful and we want assurance, but we can't get assurance until we actually do. But I had said to my nephew, I'm like, how do I know if this is going to work? He goes, well, if it doesn't work, go back and get another job, and he made it sound so simple. Like his response of, is it really a big deal? If it doesn't work, you just go get another job. It's not like you're not employable. But that helped boost my confidence. Like, okay, all right, I'm just going to jump with both feet. And if it doesn't work, there's other options, right? But it's worked and we're fine and we're enjoying life. So yeah, it's a scary thing to do. And I know a lot of Gen Xers, because we've worked since we were 8, 10, 12 years old. But really for all of your working life, you work, you get a paycheck, you work, you get a paycheck, it's like this clock. And so as you're going to go into retirement, it's different, right? It's the way it's coming in is different. The way you structure it is different. So
it's interesting how your nephew just simplified the process. If it doesn't work out, then get a job or, go back into it. So like how does clarity around, how would you describe what type of mindset going into retirement once you practice or even pursuing entrepreneurship as a Gen Xer, millennial? Like what's the mindset that one has to have?
Yeah, you have to believe in yourself. Right? You have to have that clarity and that understanding of who you are and what you can bring to the table. And then secondly, what your options are. Like, okay, I'm going to take this direction. And if it doesn't work out, what are my options? What can I do? And, going into entrepreneurship was completely different for me. I worked for the police department, sheriff's office, we did no marketing. So my exposure to marketing was none other than maybe, I think I had one class in my accounting degree, but it's like just having that clarity and that understanding of who's going to support you, who's going to help you, who's going to add to the clarity that you have to, actually to build your trust. So you've got to be clear, but then you've got to trust yourself. But my dad had retired early. He was 57 when he retired. It was just kind of his was more or less kind of spurred on him because they had increased the payout from what he initially qualified for. And he's like, I can't work as many years to make up that difference. I've got to go now. And so I know there's a lot of excuses people give when they're looking to retire, or they're like, I've still got little ones at home. I was a junior in high school. My sister was a freshman in high school and my dad retired, and I really wish I would have known then what I know now and said, how did you do it? How did you get by? But they did, it was mainly the four of us. They still had a little bit of a house payment. They had car payments. They were, providing for 2 kids to go to high school. And, so his clarity, his ability that he did it on a modest income, I could do it too if I just modeled myself after him.
I often say success leaves clues, and the fact that you saw your father retire at 57 on a modest income and then having the courage enough to believe in yourself in that process, and then being inspired by your nephew saying, if it doesn't work out, just go back and work. Like, I know that you specialize in helping women and couples over 50. Like, what challenges are they facing when it comes to retirement planning and the process?
Yeah. Like, they're probably, not got a lot of clarity at all. They're clear on what they haven't done. They know, okay, I probably didn't save all those years because we had the kids, we were doing this, I wasn't good. There's a lot of that fear of that it's not going to add up. And so I love helping, those who are over 50 because they've worked, they've done a little bit of what they needed to do. Is anybody perfect? No, but we can start actually identifying it. And once you look at what is actually there, get that clarity around that and what you want in the future. So what is it when you retire? What do you want to do? And then you see how different that is. What is your gap? and how things could change, what steps would need to be taken to close that gap. And so, helping them recognize these are the exact steps you need to take to reach that goal just gives them so much clarity in that path, and then the trust in themselves to just go and do it. That's what I say on my journey. I knew what I wanted. And so for 15 years, it was like, if it wasn't supporting our, fun and our retirement, or not our retirement, our recreation property, then it was going to retirement. And that's all we were doing. We weren't doing anything else. That was our two main focuses. And so really getting clear on what you want from retirement and where you are now, and just understanding if there's any changes that need to be made and you're not willing to make those changes, then you're going to have to give up something in the end. And so it becomes this kind of this trade-off, but it's very clear as you're moving through that.
So how do you help them understand, like, okay, what's retirement look like? Because at a super high level, if we haven't had those conversations outside of, okay, you retire at X age, so like, how do you help them define the vision that they want to start integrating as they start preparing?
Yeah. And this is definitely a gap. There's financial planners out there. They talk about money all day long, but yeah, how do you know what to plan for in retirement? As I was getting ready to retire, I got are you going to travel? No, I hate to travel. And so it's like, there's a lot of that default idea already that's what you're supposed to do. For my dad, he was supposed to go golf. He never did, So it's like recognizing who you are and what you really want from the time freedom that you're going to obtain. Yes, financial freedom, but the time freedom. And that's why I went into entrepreneurship, because I didn't want to be tied to somebody else's clock. That freedom of getting up, I still get up really early though, but getting up, taking that slow pace, moving into what I want, and building the time around what I really want to do is important to me. My husband, he goes to work. He will go 3 days a week. He loves to get it done bright and early. And so that's what he goes to do. But as I talk with clients, I'm like, think about who's going to be there with you. What do you want it to feel like? How do you want to, how do you want to feel? And I did an email right after Christmas. And usually that's when you spend a lot of time with family and you're having all of these, entertainment parties, things like that. And it's usually with family, friends. So are those the people you want with you? And how is that going to look? How are you going to fit in with them? If they're still at work, my daughter, she's still at work all day. However, being here and being available on those days that she has off, it just is opening up to us. So I have them think about their great experiences, if they do want to travel or if they want to relocate sometimes. So those big types of, changes, and getting those in place. But even if you're going to travel once a year, twice a year, okay, so that's taking up maybe 2-4 weeks of your year. You're down to 48 weeks a year. So now what are you going to do? And so it's like, then so you start with the big rocks and you go to the medium rocks. All right, what seasonally do you want to do? Maybe you didn't have time working that you really want to garden. You want to build out your garden or have flowers, or whatever it may be. So that seasonally you start filling in those things. Maybe you love to ski. Maybe you love to go hike. So fall and spring is great for that. And then just kind of sift through those things. And then every single day, what are you going to do every single day? And, that is the biggest thing. That is the biggest area where most people don't spend enough time planning. I was talking to a former neighbor of mine. She's like, I can't retire. I spend way too much money. Well, if you fill up your time with other things and give yourself a different purpose, you're not going to go spending money. So you've got to lean into what do you want to do every day. So usually, and as I was planning, like, what am I going to do? What is that going to look like? I went to my hobbies. I'm an avid fiction reader. So I'm like, I'll go help in the schools. I love to help kids read. Well, that's on somebody else's time clock, and I wasn't ready to lose my time freedom yet. So that's what I love to do is have them explore their hobbies. What do you want to do? What has been put on hold, either, not enough time or something new that you've always wanted to explore, go through that. But really plan out your day. Are you going to take the time to take care of yourself now? You don't have to rush off to work bright and early in the morning. So what are your mornings going to look like? And as I was exploring, I realized this is only about 4 to 6 hours a day. 4 to 6 hours a day where you need to get yourself ready, plan meals, prepare meals, clean the house, go shopping, whatever it is. And so it really kind of fills up fairly quickly. But where people don't strive and get the success is creating a purpose. Work was your purpose. Yes, to get money. But what is your purpose now? What is that going to look like? How are you going to fulfill a purpose in retirement?
That's powerful. So like, as I'm listening to you, my brain is super analytical and I like creating systems and patterns. So as I'm listening to you, these are the P's that I've heard from what you said. You could take it. I heard purpose. What is your purpose outside of retirement? And purposes can change. I heard play. How are you incorporating play and enjoyment? I also heard practices. What are your daily practices are you doing each day, each week, each month? And then I heard path. So like, what path are you on? Does retirement look likely for you? Are your means and income like sufficient in order to live on? And then I heard plan. Like, what is the plan and timeline? Like for you, you moved it up. You decided you're not going to do it in August. You're going to move it up a little bit more. And right at 32 years, like you were done. And then I heard projects. So what projects are you currently working on that can facilitate your time? And for you, it's the entrepreneurship path. So I heard P6 from what you just shared. How does that resonate with you?
I love that. Because that really just summarizes it. It is all the areas to think about, because definitely retirement should have some play, right? It should definitely have play, even a purpose. But hopefully your purpose is going to be to play. I had a thought, but it just left me. But yeah, just love those P's. They're very supportive. Explain everything that I just did. And I know what it was. Most people think that retirement is an all or nothing. And so they're like, okay, well, if I can't cover how much I make, then I can't retire. And that's not always the case. There's semi-retirement. There's ways to look at it and build it differently. Maybe you can become an entrepreneur to support the money difference. There's a lot of different things to do. The other ideas are like, if you are, you're passionate about maybe quilting or crafts of some sort, can you sell those? You now have a lot of time to create more. So what does that look like? Or who does that get involved with? So yeah, there's a lot of P's in there. And I think you summarized them very, very well. But I think having clarity of your path, and then you know how to refine that path and whether you need to take a right or a left or keep going straight. And so that's so important.
Thank you for that. And you shared a lot of wisdom and nuggets, and we got to go back and forth. But if there's like a takeaway, if there's something that if you could put on a billboard that you would want people to see to and from their destinations, what would that billboard say, and what would you want people to take away from this conversation?
Retirement is more than just money. And the planning and the purpose, that's the same with life. Life is more than just money. And so I think there's so much wrapped up in the fear, which is understandable, right? The fear of not having enough. However, we create what we want. And so retirement is more than just money. Money is like a very small part of retirement. And if there other areas are not given enough attention, like you are with your money, then yeah, you're going to find yourself stuck, maybe not happy. You're going to find yourself maybe not healthy even. There's a lot of different things. And so really creating all of those 6 P's in that is so very important. And so I hope people can start thinking about that. Retirement is more than just money. Money is only going to come in depending on what's, structure you've got. Mine comes in once a month. That's typical. Or you may do a drawdown once a year. Or once every other year. It just depends on how you're working with somebody to get to there. So it's more than just money. Even if you need money enough to survive, what are you going to do? Have you planned it? Have you thought about it? What are you going to do to be happy, to, enjoy, to create that second phase of life? Because I think a lot of people think, well, life's over. I'm done. I'm retired. And there's this phase, I believe, from retirement to old age, and old age is relative, right? I saw a video of a 98-year-old woman running a 5K, and I thought, holy cow, I couldn't keep up with her. But so old age is relative, but you've got that second phase of retirement to old age. And if you're not enjoying life and having purpose, it really becomes bleak and dreary.
It's powerful. And if our listeners are just like, you know what, this resonates with me and I want to connect with Darlene, how would they get in contact with you?
Yeah, go to my website, ElevateFinances.us. There you can book a call or you can read through what I'm all about, learn a little bit more about me. I also have a podcast, Wealthy After 40, so I share all of my thoughts and ideas there as well.
Darlene, thank you so much for your wisdom and your inspiring journey that you got to share with us today. Your story of early retirement, your approach to helping others gain clarity around their finances, and it's inspiring. And I took so much away, and I'm excited for our listeners to even take more away. And I just want to thank you for being on the Clarity Podcast.
And thank you for the opportunity.
To our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs to hear this. You can connect with Darlene on our website, as going to be in the description as well. And until next time, stay clear, stay inspired, and keep designing your life with intention.